The only way we grow as human beings is to change our focus and what I call the 3 A's: attitude, acceptance, and attrition. Acceptance. This is where it takes a lot of wisdom and a lot of patience to say, right now, this is the social debates and discussions and violence that is occurring as a result of social unrest, of different people with different attitudes butting heads over how social issues should be resolved. No one person is responsible for the negative and challenging effects of those. You personally are not responsible for the rise and spread of COVID-19. You personally are not responsible for those people who have lost their lives to COVID-19, nor do you have the political power as an individual to immediately change legislation to help fix these problems like that. You just can't do it. But acknowledging that makes you stronger. Acknowledging that this is the norm, as uncomfortable as it is a step in the right direction to finding peace for yourself. I don't like being not in control, Andrew. I'm aware of that. Very few people do. But wise people also know that to allow themselves to become dysfunctional because they're not in control only harms them and other people around them. They do things like meditate and pray. And whatever your philosophies are, whatever your spiritual beliefs are, whatever your daily practices are, all of us have something that we do. Reading, meditating, listening to music. Something that we do when we realize things are out of our hands that help bring us peace. So the first A is acceptance. Acceptance of what you cannot change, especially recognizing that difficult issues like this, social issues and medical issues, are the result of multiple people's decisions and multiple types of cultures and climates, which all have contributed to it. And it's not just you. And it's not something you as an individual are going to fix. And you may not like it. You don't have to like it. But if you're patient, and if you realize that by you being peaceful and accepting, other people who are more anxious about it, other people who want to get into heated debates about these things, who want to aggressively start issues, will see that you're the person who's choosing peace. Attrition, in its very definition, and I will read out to you the dictionary definition: the action or process of gradually reducing the strength of effectiveness of someone or something through sustained attack of pressure. So in this case, what you want to reduce is fear and doubt. You want to attack those ideas. You want to attack that pressure. And to put yourself in a place where you already feel like it's inevitable that things get worse, you are basically putting more burden on your shoulders. You're putting more worry. You're putting more fear on yourself. You're piling it on, because for some people, fear becomes a friend. Some people who have difficulty not being in control, fear and doubt are their friend because it makes them feel comfortable. I'm afraid COVID's going to get worse. I'm afraid, I'm going to be walking down the street one day and a person who chooses to be a violent protester is going to be in my path and they're going to hurt me or something bad is going to happen. Everything is possible. And there's nothing wrong with being prepared, but to put yourself in that emotional state of fear and doubt and anguish before there are signs of it happening makes it more difficult for you to cope with the situation when it does become more difficult. And people around you see that. And that anxiety spreads. It does. Other people see that in you. When COVID was first becoming a big, serious health concern, there were people attacking Asians of every culture and social group within the Asian definition. Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Laotian. Anybody who looked Asian was getting verbally or physically assaulted and blamed for the spread of COVID. As a culture and a society, we cannot allow ourselves to slip into that kind of fear and that doubt and that anger without having some truth to support that fear and that doubt. Because what happens is what happened a few months ago when the riots kicked off and the social unrest hit its peak. People became afraid, angry, frustrated, but they had no base ideas, no base truths on which they based that fear and anger. It was just, I'm angry because there's social injustice. But then they immediately jump into aggressor mode. We're going to fix the world by getting angry at it. We're going to fix the world by picking fights with our Facebook friends and debating them and shutting them down and ridiculing them and hurting their feelings because they don't agree with our attitude about how the world should be improved. It became a disaster. As human beings, we went from thoughtful and fact-based discussions crashing down into, oh yeah, well, you're stupid because you don't agree with me. And let me tell you how stupid you are. Here's some memes that make fun of your ideas. Here's some memes that make fun of your thoughts. I am going to destroy you because you have a different idea about how we should approach these things. That comes from fear and doubt and anger without having a firm, thoughtful, patient, factual foundation. Without the willingness to balance yourself and consider how your words and your thoughts affect not only your own heart, but how they affect other people. In the case of COVID-19, some people may be wearing their mask and they might be social distancing, but there's always someone else who will say, you're not 6 feet away from me. You're not doing everything you should to help prevent COVID. You're part of the problem. Again, that comes from that fear, that doubt, that anxiety. They don't have control, my friends. They have no more control over it than you do. The difference is they don't know how to cope with that loss of control. So they get angry. They get afraid. And that results in verbally or physically attacking any Asian as a result of the spread of COVID, or looting, rioting, violent protest, assaulting police officers, all the behaviors we've seen on TV. That doesn't reflect everybody. But those are the people that the world is seeing their behavior and hearing the words come out of their mouth, and it's reflecting poorly on them. So we want as human beings, and I especially want to encourage you to focus on that attrition. Attack your fear, attack your doubt with patience, with prayer, with meditation, with facts, with calm discussions of people who don't agree with you. You might be used to being in control, but this is how you grow. Acceptance, attrition, and now attitude. I had a mentor who told me human attitude is like altitude for an airplane, right? As you rise in the air, your altitude determines how you tilt, how the wind carries you, how the oxygen or lack of oxygen allows smoother flight, right? All these things to take into consideration. As your attitude becomes more focused, it's important to consider what you do and do not allow. Do you allow smooth flight? Do you allow smooth transition? Do you, as Bruce Lee pointed out in a very famous interview, he said, be like water, my friend. Be like water. You see, water, if you put it in a cup, becomes the cup. Put it in a bowl, becomes the bowl. Whatever you put water in, it forms to that. A river, as it flows through different scenery, the water conforms around it. If there are large boulders in the way, if there's soil erosion, if there is elevation blocking it, the river will figure out a way around it. The river is looking for the fastest path around all the obstructions. And even powerful rivers cannot wash away whole mountains. It can't wash away enormous boulders if the weight of the boulder is heavier than the strength of the river. It still has to split and go around it, or go to the left or go to the right. And that attitude is what changed my life, that idea of that attitude of flowing like a river. In high school, 1994-95, I was going through the commercial art program. And that's when comics were big time. Marvel was exploding then. Jim Lee had been doing the X-Men books, and Todd McFarlane had done Spider-Man, and some of the world's best artists, what I consider to be some of the world's best artists, were working for Marvel, and then they all moved to Image Comics, and we had things like Spawn and Wildcats. And I said, I want to learn that. And I sat down and I got a book, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and this, that, and the other, looked at all these different comic books, practice. Video editing, web design, anything I've wanted to know that I think is going to make my life better, I just did it. I said to myself, I'm going to learn this no matter what it takes. We need to take these 3 A's into consideration, because this is how we get through these difficult times. This is how you get through your fear and your doubt and your pain. You accept what you can't change. You attack your fear and your doubt. And you change your attitude to be one of, if I want to do this, I'm going to put everything I can into it. Come what may the outcome, I succeeded because I gave it everything.